Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I saw someone in the chat mentioning the intro. We had to run it, even though we're in the lab today. We had to run the intro for those who were thinking of it. But we're chilling here in the lab again, and it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm the American Anchor Baby. We got a bit of a show to get into. I appreciate everybody tuning in, my lovely viewers. How you doing, Brandon? We got rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby, and of course my people here on YouTube. How you doing, everybody? We're in the chair, not the chair. We're in the lab, and I'm seeing all of you. So thanks for tuning in. If you got something on your mind, something you want to talk about, so you got a question, a topic you want to bring up, we got plenty of room in the lab. So you can call in. That's 844-900-2229. Let me get nice. Remember to stay close to the mic. 844-900-2229. Nice to have you here. Happy Tuesday. And I gotta say, I'm in the lab. You know what I've been doing? You know what I've been up to? instead of a regular show prep, I've just been like endless tabs about Iran. Endless tabs about Iran. Something else. I got to look into something else. I open up something else. I'm like, this is so fascinating. Things are happening fast. They're happening right now. We're living through some interesting things. It's piqued my interest. We're learning this and that. And so I've just been doing that, right? So I haven't even gone up out of the lab into the chair. We have not left. Audio is a 2. Mic check. I have not left the lab. You understand? I was just like pouring through all this, and it's like, 11. It's 11 o'clock. Oh yeah. What's up, everybody? Hey, it's the American Anchor Baby. I want to get into a couple things with you guys. A pleasure to have you here. But what can I say? Just to get this out of the way. So I'm like opening tabs, etc. And I see your calls coming in. I want to get to you, 844-900-2229. And I'm looking through Iran stuff and the conflict. What's the take? You know, I mean, as it stands, I'm like, I don't support it or disagree and all that. And I realize I don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? I realize I don't know ish. Okay, I know a few things maybe. Some things that I'm understanding that are not contested, that are clear. Like there is this like a conflict with Iran. There is a conflict going on. Duh. And the reasons for it are a number of reasons. But I understand. Here's the things that I guess I understand, okay? I understand that they are this different regime that came in 1979. They've been an issue for a while. There's the issue of the nuclear weapons and them wanting to create them and how dangerous that would be. I understand that Trump and his administration has seen Iran as a threat. Their reasonings for this strike here was an imminent threat from Iran, that they were going to harm Israel, harm their regional allies. Stuff I've seen being widely reported, that they were going to strike a whole bunch of people that weren't even related to Israel in the United States. The debate is, would they do it? Was it imminent because they were just going to bomb people, or is it because of this escalating conflict with the U.S. and Israel? But I understand that's what Trump is saying. So they had to do this, and I also understand that he doesn't want a long conflict, and that victory for them seems to be total surrender of Iran and doing this quickly. So I'm pouring through this. I'm obviously here. I'm still here. I'm pouring through this. I realize I don't know ish, but at least I think those things have been made clear to us, the public. And as it stands, unless there's like a Trump miracle, it just all looks like danger for Americans, right? The soldiers. Costly war that with no end in sight. And so again, I don't know ish, obviously, but that's what it looks like. That's what it stands. That's where it stands. So, you know, that's just where it stands for me in my mind. Unless I'm not getting something, that's where it stands for me. Everything indicates like a big issue unless Trump completely changes course, or there's some sort of unforeseen move where Iran surrenders and the unlikely happens. Because as it stands, they're in the streets, they're like cheering on their new Ayatollah, and they're looking like they're digging in for the long haul. And so that's where I concluded. So so with that out of the way, you know, that's what I was like going through. With that out of the way, you're welcome to call in about it. I know it's a topic; it's on everyone's minds. Well, at least those, you know, at least some. It's some people's minds. So you're welcome to call in about it. Tell me what you know and what you think. But yeah, 844-900-2229. I got some various random things here related to the war I want to click through, and then let's just jump into some stuff, because we'll be back tomorrow, back to regular shows. Back to regular shows in the chair. Get out of here, get out of the bunker, get out of my head, and back to regular shows, and all that. So nice to have you here and all that. Let me go through some of these links, like I said, okay? Various things I had about the war, because not giving you like this foreign policy, you know, bird's eye view take. I know what's going on. It's more of just a general sense I'm getting that that Trump doesn't want to be there anymore. I don't know if it's just me. I'm getting this sense that Trump doesn't want to be in Iran anymore. Like, he's saying it's pretty much done. He's saying the war's done. We still got to go. They're calling it a flip-flop in the media. And it's like fog of war, unclear. What does Trump really want? Is it 5 weeks? Are you guys done? Or is it you got to go harder, like he's saying, because they're saying two things. His people around him are saying different things. It's pretty much over. We got to go harder. But I'm getting this impression. I don't know. I'm getting this impression that he's saying it's already done. He's talking about what it would look like when, should he want to end the war, he'll do it. He'll announce it with Netanyahu or something. You know, it's just a vibe. Okay, I'm not this foreign policy guy. So let me go through my random links. Then I got some stuff for you. Yeah, I think the war is pretty much complete, right? Various commentary attributed to Trump. I think the Iran war is pretty much complete. Panikins, I don't know who this guy is. Brylan. Oh, I kind of remember this guy, Brylan Hollyhand. I'm just seeing his comment under this post. The war is pretty much complete. Panikins in shambles. You panikins. He's referencing that time Trump used that term to describe. I forget when he said it. It may have been about Iran. I forget when he said that. If so, maybe ironic. But Brylan here saying, I hate how like kind of losers. Not that I know Brylan that much, but I mean people who seemingly. I'll put it like this. I just hate how that they co-opted this word panikins to just use it as a bludgeon on anyone who has any criticism at all or any question, like, hey, any question at all, you're like a panikin. Don't you know Trump said no panikins? Just totally co-opting it. I just kind of hate how they did that. But whatever, you shouldn't hate anything. So where was I? So I don't know where I'm getting sort of impression. Let me just go through some of these links, right? Just random links I had. Trump, right? It's pretty much complete, but he's saying, okay, but we still got to do something else. He was saying like, who he bombed Iran on the council of, like, it just sounded like a little different than. I don't know if it's just me, but it sounded like a little different from Trump's speak. Even if it was someone else's counsel, he might not say it. I'll let you watch it. What do you think? He's talking about why he bombed Iran. Let's unmute that for you guys.
The point of no. The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And the situation...
the council of Jared, Pete, I don't know. People are saying he's throwing them under the bus. Again, I'm not the 40,000 feet in the air view. This like view of foreign policy. No, just kind of a vibe. I'm thinking it's looking real bad publicly for him. He's talking about this school thing now. I meant to look into it. Like, what's the actual story with the school? With the school thing, this bomb, they bombed something in Iran, and it was a school. Moment where Trump is asked about some previous comments that I wasn't aware of before this, about essentially kind of blaming others for this school that got bombed because it was a Tomahawk missile that hit it. As this community notes makes clear, the only operators of Tomahawk missiles are the United States Navy, Royal Navy, Australian Navy, the Netherlands Navy. Iran has 0 Tomahawks. Trump had, I guess at some point suggested it could have been someone else's Tomahawk. You know, kind of like a right? It's bad for PR. Is this like some of that pressure? I don't know. I'm getting this impression that he doesn't want to be there. And who knows? It's just total out of the pocket prediction for me. Maybe not even so much a prediction, but I don't know. They might just go like this with Iran. Like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. I don't know. But no forever war. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, you just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report. Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's like plausible, right? You know, fog of war. He's like, hey, you guys want to blame us? Could have been anyone. But as information comes out, maybe it's less likely that that's what it was. More on that in a sec. Since we're here, Israeli officials possibly in panic. Jerusalem Post. A few senior officials in Israel are starting to voice concern about the escalating open-ended attack on Iran and suggesting possible exit ramps that might halt the war before it further damages the region and the global economy. Talk of an endgame is early, and a decision about whether to stop the attacks rests largely with President Donald Trump, who continues to seek all-out victory. But in a telephone conversation Sunday, a senior Israeli official familiar with the planning and strategy for the Iran war discussed alternatives to Trump's call for unconditional surrender. The official requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the Iran situation, which is interesting. Again, so anyways, just vibes, right? It's just my opinion. But it's looking... There was maybe one more thing to tell you kind of how I was thinking here. Because, where was it? They were saying there was another call. I think he did. Trump did another call. And he had said, and they asked him about the ending of the war. Trump, ending of the war. Netanyahu. And he had said that it will be a mutual decision. This is Reuters reporting. President Donald Trump on Sunday that when to end the war with Iran will be a mutual decision made with Netanyahu. And if you got these officials over in Iran, I don't know where this Philip Pilkington gets this characterization from. I have no idea. You know, people on the internet, you know how podcasters and Twitter people are, right? You just sit around, put a microphone in front of them, an audience, and they just start blah, 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 thinking like they know what they're talking about, right? So, I don't know where this guy gets this characterization from, but he says that the Israelis had a magic conception of American power. Now that they see there are no magic beans, they're realizing the status quo is just constant drone and missile strikes. They're basically panicking about not regime changing how they wanted without boots on the ground and all that. You know, quick, strong, decisive, powerful strikes, total domination, cyber, air, ground. I don't know about ground. So if the Israeli officials are now talking about possible exit ramps, call it and Trump's like in lockstep with Israel as allies and with Bibi, who, have seemed to have carved out this allied agenda. I don't know how to put that, but they're obvious. I don't know how to put that. They're just like strong guys with aligned interests in some ways, and that's how you. I don't want to say the word partnership. I just don't know why I want to avoid that word, but because I'm just talking like an ignorant anger baby, right? Here I am on YouTube, and like I don't want to be making serious claims about people. I'm just saying. that's how allies operate. But this could be a signaling of this off ramp that I'm talking about, and that's not necessarily all like, I don't know, call it bad or something. I know I'm speaking in these little words like good and bad. Like, I just don't see it as all as bad, because even if it was like a blunder, let's say, okay, maybe this is not going to work out with Iran, then it works out for all the people who are like, this is a forever war, blah, blah, blah. That would be a sign that, I don't know, Trump and Bibi and whoever else can see the point, right? Which is like, you can't be an idealist. We can't just like think that you're the best and we could just bomb and like dominate Iran. Like, if you can't do it, if your generals are saying, if you just can't, if it's not doable, even if you can bomb them to heck, the point is, right, regime change, then it shows the ability to just accept it. That's why I was getting that impression, by the way, about wanting an off ramp. Doesn't really want to be there anymore. You know, that was just my thinking, and partly because partly I agree with some of you guys in the chat. I partly too because he's a man of peace. The criticism is, whoa, was he really just like deep state, just like Bush, just like these other guys? They just like, which they're what? They're like total, they're not realistic. It's just idealistic. Just like, we're going to just liberate the world from evil and communism and Islamism and terrorism and isms. And, you know, we just have to. And that's really far away and you got to do it. And, so, I mean, anyways, right? Now, that's why I was looking through all this stuff, right? As it stands, unless it's like, wow, in a week or whatever, they're like, yep, we did it. We did the unthinkable. We did what nobody thought we could do. We achieved all our goals in Iran and we're out. I'll be like, wow. I'll be like, there goes Trump. But I don't know. I just don't know. And people want to say panicking. And I like that word. I like Trump and when he brought that up. But man, yeah, what are you guys saying? School? Yeah, they killed children in the first day. Yeah, is that how you guys are seeing it? I mean, that's pretty bad, huh? I think he should just stop it, to be honest. I hope he does. What are the goals, though? So, where was I? Let me finish this little thing up. I got random links about Iran. But the goal is, I don't know if it's clear. I don't want to say it's unclear. I don't want to say it's like totally unclear. They're saying, when he's saying rise up, people rise up. And when he's talking about new leadership, and when he's saying he doesn't support this leadership that they're bringing in now, and that he needs to have a say in who they get to pick as leader, that's one clear goal, regime change. And two, I guess the other clear goal is doing it quickly. Doing it quickly, or as quick as possible. And that's why here, I love the guy. I don't think you're panicking if you're just like, I don't know if quite understand. But as it stands, I think I'm fair in saying this. I think I'd be quite measured. I think I'd be, and you can call me and tell me where I'm wrong. I think I'd be quite fair in saying this to the president, or so to speak. It's like, sir, I voted for you. I support you. You made it clear to me that you think this regime change or whatever is necessary. You think you could do it fast. I'm hearing the criticisms. Iraq 2.3.0, forever wars BS, which you said is bad. But you know what? That's how you're saying it's going to happen. So then as it stands, it looks bad until those things happen I almost want to call it a Trump miracle. Maybe that's ignorant. Maybe it's far more likely or possible than I want to say. Maybe I'm just repeating stuff I heard. But it sounds unlikely. So, fine. I hate it. But maybe you can make the impossible happen. But I don't think I'd be unfair in saying that. And if it goes wrong, it would be like a huge blunder. It would be like a massive blunder. Yeah. But anyways, these are the things I was thinking of. War. So let me finish this up. Where was I? Keir Starmer was saying, "Hey, we'll help," right? And then Trump said, "Well, the war's already done. We don't need your help." Again, I'm thinking they don't want to be there. I'm thinking they don't want to. I'm thinking they want to. Maybe they want this off ramp, but I'm kind of making that up, folks. Like, I don't got. But what else? Let me keep clicking through this. Okay, Hegseth clarifies that the Iranian oil depot strikes. Where was I? No, that one wasn't that important. I mean, now I guess some of these clips is repeating now, so I think I can skip some of these. This one Michael Tracy posted. He was just on the JLP show. Interesting guy. I was suggesting that guest to Derek. I thought he'd be great, especially right now. And I don't necessarily agree totally with him. He's a bit, isn't he a bit of a liberal or something? I can see his thinking. But anyways, he was an interesting guest, and he brought up interesting things. So he's posted this one. It's the beginning of a new country. This is just a clip for file it under, is it regime change? What's going on in Iran?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement. We could call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further.
We could leave right now. It'd be a total success. No. But where was I? Yeah, pretty fascinating. And pretty impressive, right? Like, if you want, if we could glaze a little bit, Trump, dealing with them. Here's the thing: one of the things that are a question mark in my mind. I heard about one of the things that's a question mark in my mind. Stuff that's coming from the administration that I'm like, I don't know, yes or no. One that's like, I think quite possible, I heard that from others, is Iran's threatening of the region and how they were about to strike a bunch of people, a bunch of nations that had nothing to do with it. I heard that that's like real. But what else? That's pretty much it. That's that. Amazing. So with that out of the way, shall we move on? You're welcome to call in about it, of course. Since we're talking about the Trump admin, though, and Michael Tracy, who was on the JLP show earlier, very interesting guest. Trump administration. Okay, wait. He made some comments about the Epstein files. Something I didn't know. I didn't know this, or I maybe knew this somewhat, like in one of those moments where I was reading an article with you guys live. I'm like, that's interesting. But it kind of went by fast. But it has to do with the redactions in the Epstein files as it stands today. Something hugely criticized. The Trump administration, the DOJ, you're familiar that after all sorts of pressure, Congress actually came together, put together a bill to force the release of the Epstein files. One criticism of the Trump admin and the DOJ is that the files they do release have been heavily redacted, with much outcry from detractors saying this is a cover-up. But what's interesting about is the nature of the redactions, something that the administration made clear, but I didn't put two and two together. And I think I even maybe said whatever about it, right? You heard it. You said they said they made it clear that they were going to protect the victims. But it's funny how you hear about the victims and then you just block it out of your mind, not realizing the victims were the culprits here. You wanted to quickly say cover up, but what was the redactions? The redactions are largely because the victims wanted it that way. Fascinating report with Michael Tracy, and I had to confirm it here. And there are some legally mandated reasons for the redactions in the Epstein-related documents, particularly those released by the U.S. Department of Justice under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And the rules are to protect victims' privacy, identities, and personal information. This includes names, addresses, emails, photos, medical details, and other identifying data. The act explicitly allows redactions for personally identifiable information of victims. That's like anything. Materials that would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. And sexually explicit content of child sexual abuse materials. People heard that and they thought every time they saw a black bar in the Epstein files, that's a kid. That's a kid. That's a kid. That's a victimized child. Let me tell you some of the language behind this law. DOJ statements and court orders emphasize that all reasonable efforts were made to redact victim identifying information, with protocols focused on maximizing the protection of victim identifying information. That was their main priority. They maximize the protection. They want to completely maximize the protection of victim identifying information. And they stressed careful redaction to safeguard the victims. Here's the kicker, too. The victims and their lawyers, who have become quite wealthy, they've become quite wealthy doing this, have actively pushed for stronger redactions and protections. In early 2026, there were major controversies where redactions were botched or insufficient, leading to unredacted names, etc. This prompted lawyers for hundreds of survivors to demand immediate takedowns. The DOJ was forced to withdraw thousands of documents for further redaction. Victims described the errors as re-traumatizing, with lives turned upside down, and calls for egregious violation of victim privacy. So that's what it was. They're just redacting like their own names. They were just redacting their own, dare I say, their own guilt. Their own part to play in the whole thing. They said, leave that out of it. That has nothing to do with it. Leave the part I played completely out of it. Leave my name, my actions, my image, and only go after the man. And then when they get what they wanted, because the world's feminist, they feel bad for women, and it's supposedly the right thing to do, the man is blamed again. It's like pedo world. They just want to protect pedos. Look at this Trump pedo president protecting other pedos. Look at all these redactions. When it was the administration, who I criticize for being rabidly feminist in this sense. And I don't know exactly where to put the blame, because it's like the DOJ. And the DOJ is supposed to be separate from the president, but whatever. the administration does the right thing, right? They protect women, and the man still gets blamed for it. It's so insane. It's so insane. Worst covered story ever. But yeah, they really did do that. To shield the victims. What a mess. What are you saying? Some of you guys were saying that Michael Tracy was glazy, was not glazy, but just like was praising or whatever. I didn't hear him praise Epstein, but he at one point he was saying like, well, Jesse asked him like, how does one man like explain, how does one man get so many connections and do all this stuff? Like, how does that happen? And Michael Tracy was trying to give his like honest take, like just like a measured take, like, well, you got an individual who makes a bunch of money, who dedicates himself to making these connections. It's what he does. He loves it. And you know what? And he's pretty charismatic, and he's pretty good looking too. But you guys were like, all right, I'm out. Yeah, that's too, yeah. Praising, saying, you can't say anything good about Epstein. He was a person too. Hello. All right, guys. That's it. I'm out. That's it. I'm out. Epstein was a Jewish Chad. That is so funny. That is so funny. Alrighty. Let's see what y'all are saying here. Before we keep it pushing here, back in the chair tomorrow, folks. Regular stuff. And regular number and all that. Some people tell me they have issues with this 844-900-2229 number. So no worries. We'll be back. Anchor baby, can you pull up Moldova coat of arms? It's where founder of... What are you talking about? Why is that important? Moldova coat of arms? It's where founder of Hasidic Judaism was born, a messiah to them. I don't know. Is this some of those the Jews aren't the real Jews conspiracies? Huh? They're like I heard there's all sorts of genetic testing that proves this. They are of Levantine DNA, of which the anchor baby, by the way, hold on. I've shown you my DNA before. I'm an open book. I think there's an update to my DNA. I may have because we've seen my DNA together. And we've seen that I am black. That I am, in fact, a little bit black. That's not just in spirit. That's not just in spirit, but it's in genetics as well. But am I tripping? I meant to look at this again. I thought I got an update. And I may be all of it, folks. I may have it all. I shouldn't have done this much fanfare. I should have logged in first. I should have logged in first before making all this preamble. Ban the anchor baby. I knew it. I may have Levantine DNA. Or am I just black? Hold on. And then we'll move on. Hold up. Pause. I don't want to see your DNA. Am I Jewish? Oh. I don't think I'm Jewish. Okay, sorry, folks. Moving on. I heard that that's debunked, Kevin. This Khazarian Jewish stuff. But I don't know. I heard that they like clearly have Jewish DNA or something like that. Keep your DNA to yourself. LOL cliffhanger. I'm trying to log in. Uh-oh. What's a Sephardic Jew? Sephardic Jew, also known as Sephardi Jews or Sephardim, and rarely as Iberian Peninsular Jews, are a Jewish diaspora population associated with the historic Jewish communities of the Iberian Peninsula and their descendants. The term Sephardic comes from Sepharad, the Hebrew word for Iberia. Check it out, folks. Read it and weep. Read it and weep. 2%, baby. Sephardic Jews in the Eastern Mediterranean. 2%, baby. Credit score going up. Is nephew to Scheinbaum and that Mexican president? No. Read it and weep, baby. I got it all. Black, Jewish. I'm weeping. People are weeping in the chat. I got it all. Black, Jewish. I have more black in me than Jewish, by the way. 4% Senegalese, 2% Sephardic Jews in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I don't know. That just recently added that. For years, I didn't have that. They just recently added that in. Some people want to say that's a conspiracy, and they just want the anchor baby on their side. I'm not complaining. I, for one, am happy. I, for one, welcome this information. So, enough fun. Okay, enough of that. See, when we're in the lab, just, you know, this is why when we're in the lab, we're just like loosey, very goosey. Those are the Jews. Nick got the DLC. Those are the Jews that invaded Spain in 711 AD and were kicked out in 1492. So I have a little bit of them. LMAO Nit just lost 200 subs. Hey, I got my Cash App is in the description. Okay, BB? You hear me, BB? They're all in Mexico. Yes, that's true. The Iberian Peninsula is where Spain is. Nice. I'm in fact not a foundational black American. What I have in me is like African black. But I don't know how that works. Does that make me an FBA? I don't think that's how that works. Yeah. What I have in me is Senegalese and a whole bunch of North African too. See, I'm a Tunisian knife fighter. I'm a Tunisian knife fighter in the alleys of Tunisia. Sorry, this is so personal. Let's stop talking about my DNA. Wait, I'm French Canadian too? When did I get that? Je suis French Canadian? Now they're just trying to make me join everybody's side, right? Or is this true? Am I really Je suis French Canadien? They're saying French Canada, Acadia, 1%. Is that why the Francais is so easy for me? I always thought Francais is easy for me because I know Spanish. but my French teacher told me that shouldn't be so. That other Spanish speakers do not excel in her class. In fact, at all. But looking back, they may have just come from a broken home. But anyways. So I guess I'm French Canadian. I had no idea. This they keep adding stuff to it. As time goes on, they keep figuring out, I guess. But where did this anchor baby, like, where is he going to get the French Canadian? So mama is all the way down here. Illegal alien comes up here, California. Goes across the country, goes to Florida. My daddy, somewhere there, something happens. And then I immigrate. Then we immigrate to Canada. I actually end up in Canada. What are the chances? And it's just 1%. Maybe I'm just tripping over something that like probably everybody has. So enough. Let's move on. Look, please. Let's keep it moving. Okay, that's enough. That's personal. Nick is Acadian, like me, Jermaine and Michelle. Shout out. What's up, Fish Fanatic? Je suis. Oy vey meets wee wee. The DNA shows where you moved to? Like, no, it doesn't. It's not supposed to. Isn't that weird, though? Thor mode is sharing suspicions like me. Next, they're going to say I'm Indian. Okay, anyways. I feel like English is more influenced by French than Spanish is. That is, I think, a fair impression. I think that's a good instinct, James Hake. Yeah, I feel like English is more influenced by French than Spanish. I think, I gotta say, I don't know if I can describe, but I want to say you're right. I want to say you're correct. Besides the like various words in English that come clearly from French, like fiancé. Besides that, I think that's one reason. I think that's one clear reason why you might be right. That's one of those symptoms of what you're talking about. I gotta say, I think you're correct. But anyways, let's switch this. Where was we? Shall we keep going here? Because oil, energy, these are real things. And they matter. And they're talking about it. So, let me pull this up. What's the Strait of Hormuz looking like lately? Because they say it's locked up. And Trump is saying, and Trump is saying that he might just
Josh was just a creative guy.
He might just have to do something about it.
Commercial vessels, if any, are currently making it through the strait, and how many are waiting? Just how many commercial vessels, if any, are currently making it through the strait, and how many are waiting?
We are seeing very few get through. The numbers that were put out by the Joint Maritime Information Center it has dropped from 98 ships on February 28th to just 1 yesterday.
Okay, so for those then waiting, because obviously it's effectively shut at this stage, for those waiting, what sort of insurance do they currently have and what might they need?
So the ships were carrying war risk insurance before the conflict started, but at a very low level. And because of the sudden nature of this conflict just erupting all of a sudden on February 28th, and because the U.S. really didn't coordinate with the insurance companies, the insurance companies decided to basically withdraw the insurance. You have to understand, in maritime shipping, the insurance companies are actually the shipping companies. So they decided to kind of hold their ships and wait to get more money into the pool because they were worried that they may incur more damage if ships start sailing in. They were in the process of doing that. We were about ready to see shipping start when all of a sudden we saw reinsurance pulled again following the U.S. attack on the Iranian frigate off the coast of Sri Lanka.
You mentioned reinsurance there, Sal. President Trump is offering reinsurance for losses, as I just mentioned, up to $20 billion in the Gulf region. Is that workable in practice?
It's really dangerous because the insurance cost doesn't just cover the cost of the ship and the cargo and the crew, it's the liability. And one of the things we found out in shipping is liability can really be open-ended. Incidents like the Ever Given in the Suez, the Dolly in Baltimore, those exceeded billions of dollars. So if you have a few vessels hit, an oil spill, a potential environmental damage, it could cap out that $20 billion. Really what they need to do is get the commercial system that was in place up and running and now make it safe enough for the ships to start running through the straits into the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, so Will, if it does become...
stuff I'm not familiar with. So to summarize, he's saying vessels, companies that are operating these huge vessels, transporting oil around the world, very important industry. He predicts that they're going to start running. They're going to start just going through the Strait of Hormuz in like a bold attempt to cross through anyways. Like a daring run, so to speak, running the Strait of Hormuz. As it stands, it's de facto closed because of the ongoing conflict with companies suspending transit, like major companies, Maersk and others. Interesting. And this insurance becoming unavailable or prohibitively expensive. You can imagine insurance is going to start going up and up and up. They're saying, because you can imagine that, you know, the risk has gone significantly up. So yeah, this insurance might have to pay out a lot more. With no insurance, it's going to be either they're going to a standstill, but that's also a huge issue. It's to the point where they're going to consider just running through. Hundreds of vessels are waiting outside the Gulf, anchored. Iran has declared the strait closed or forbidden for non-compliant vessels.
Safe and reopens. I imagine that does still come with some risk. Are some of these agents priced out of what the insurance would cost them to re-establish that route through the Hormuz Strait?
Well, what we've seen is the war risk insurance has gone almost 10 times as amount. You had a war risk insurance of about 0.15%. Now we're sitting at about 1.5%. But understand what shippers are going to do is just transfer that cost over to consumers. So if you're hauling a load of oil, you're just going to make that load of oil more expensive. And they will eventually sail through. During the height of the tanker war back in the 1980s, we saw war risk insurance of 1 to 3%, and at times it topped out at 5 to 7%. And because this area provides 20% of the global oil and 20% of the liquefied natural gas, there's really not a lot of alternatives out there. Australia, which is a major liquefied natural gas provider, cannot really up its production more than what can be provided out of Qatar.
Is there any chance that if this does go on and these shipping companies try to navigate the Strait of Hormuz, that the US could conduct convoy operations?
There is that potential, and the U.S. talked about that. President Trump specifically discussed that. It's a very tough operation for them to do. We're seeing about 700 ships stuck inside the Persian Gulf right now.
Hold on.
That the US could conduct convoy operations?
There is that potential, and the U.S. talked about that. President Trump specifically discussed that. It's a very tough operation for them to do. We're seeing about 700 ships stuck inside the Persian Gulf right now. On average, you run about 100 to 125 ships through the Persian Gulf at a daily basis. The U.S. Navy does not quite have enough assets to really do that. Plus, just getting through the Strait of Hormuz isn't enough. You would have to actually convoy all the way up to Kuwait and Iraq, over 500 nautical miles. It's a very difficult prospect. However, it is possible using air assets and naval assets.
Fascinating, huh? Fascinating, huh? I guess that's where Trump was talking about. I think that's what he meant by what they have to do something about it. And it's a major thing. Another reason why I'm thinking, again, just totally my impression. I haven't even heard anybody say this. Why I don't think Trump wants to be there anymore. I'm getting this impression he doesn't want to be there anymore. Now he's lifting sanctions off of Russian oil. Now, it's a controversial move because you're essentially in a proxy war or whatever. I don't know what they're calling it these days with Russia. We're back in Ukraine. And various reasons, now I'm not an expert on this, but the reasons are, from what I remember ostensibly, to degrade Russia's capabilities, right? And be a check, essentially a response. I mean, the most hard line in the government is an expelling of Russia to undo what they did by taking Crimea and all that. So it's a controversial move because the sanctions on Russia were initially let's summarize it under like a war tactic, right? Let's make it an issue for them to replenish their war capabilities by selling their oil, etc. So let's make it hard for them to do that. We're going to impose sanctions. Our buddies, if you want to buy their oil, we're going to tax you hard or whatever. We're going to hit you with a sanction. So it's a controversial move. He's saying he wants to lift the sanctions on Russian oil. Anyone can buy their oil now. You might understand a little bit because you're seeing maybe the things at play here. The Strait of Hormuz, oil and energy coming from there. You now have this destabilization that needs to be replenished. Call that Russian oil. Call it a necessity. And call it what it looks like, what might turn into, right, like a weakening stance with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, maybe that's what you want, but I don't know. It seems like you have a limited attention. The American military has a limited scope, and you got to divert some of it to Iran. And the case has to be made that why that's good. But anyways, why was Russia good, right? Why wasn't anybody tripping about that?
I might add, we're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off until this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through.
So it's interesting. That's what's going on in the world. He hopes he doesn't need it. Now, why is he saying he hopes he doesn't need it? Because he's calling Iran. He's calling Iran a victory. He's calling it, we're pretty much done, but we're gonna keep going. So if you need to escort ships up the Strait of Hormuz, and maybe even past it, because Iran doesn't own it all, but it's like they're pretty tough. Qatar, you might have to go even further. It means that the Iran situation is not handled, essentially. And that's where it stands. He hopes he doesn't have to do that. But hey, I too hope you're correct about this, Mr. President, right? I like how he said it. He said, we're going to remove the sanctions for now until this all clears up. I'm not just pulling this out of my butt. Like it's like we need Russian oil is what he's saying. Like we need, this is strategic. Like it feels like a focusing on Iran. And he's saying, and when this is over, maybe we won't even have to sanction Russia. There'll be so much peace. We won't even have to bring it back.
Through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through. I might.
Oh.
Time comes, the U.S. Navy and his partners, then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes...
He's a man of peace. That's at least what he wants. That's why I think this Iran thing, this vibe I'm getting of him wanting to leave, is partly for that reason. I don't know. I don't think he wants to be there anymore. The Americans dead, the school, the children, the public, and the unforeseen end, the no foreseeable end. Israeli officials talking about, we want an off ramp. You know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, right? But I don't think he wants to be there anymore. Man, I mean, I know you guys already know this guy, but every time when I see this guy, it reminds me just how do you explain? Just how do you explain this guy, this Lindsey Graham guy? Every time I know you've seen them. You're far more familiar with him than I. But I swear, when I see this guy,
for instance,
I'm like, what? How does this guy exist? It seems like how Trump said, and others, they say about this guy, Lindsey's never seen a war he doesn't want to get into.
All the isolationists, all the...
I first saw he's back getting attention in the news, and he always gets attention with the right wing for being such a, I don't know, they call him like captured, or not captured, but just essentially that he's just like a war hawk. And the criticism of the war hawks and that wing of the government is that they're not aligned with the people. And they have their own agenda. They have some twisted view of the world. Every new enemy of America is a new Hitler. It has to be another Winston Churchill to rise up to deal with this new Hitler. If it wasn't Bush saying they'll greet us as liberators, it's Lindsey Graham and these other people. So I may not know the criticisms as well as you guys, but I'm gathering. The notion is this guy is just always like about war, with this like war hawk cult that seems to not care at all about voting in America and what the people are voting for. Who voted for another forever war? So I've gathered a little bit. I get the gist. Matt Walsh was calling him out. This is an insane thing for a United States senator to say. He explicitly says he's with Israel over isolationist Americans. How do you explicitly say you're right with another country over Americans, no matter what they are, in a sense?
All the anti-Semites to all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus. All that.
This is probably not even that good of a to express what I think many of you know better than I. Someone who just maybe is tuning in, they'll be like, this wouldn't be a good explanation of who Lindsey Graham is so far. So my apologies.
God bless Israel. Right. We should move all our stuff to Israel.
But you've seen even Trump, you know, it was Trump, he was all like, you know, in 2019, or at some other point, you know, something like about Lindsey Graham wants, I want out of the Middle East. I want out of the Middle East. Lindsey Graham wants us in there, something like that.
Office, that if you keep talking like that, quote, this will be a disaster worse than Obama's decision to leave Iraq.
No, Lindsey Graham would like to stay in the Middle East for the next 1,000 years with thousands of soldiers and fighting other people's wars. I want to get out of the Middle East.
You see,
So, is this really 2019? He looks like it looks like younger, like clearly younger. I don't know about clearly younger, but
Lindsey
2019. I guess that was first term. But what was this story in the New York Times? Lindsey Graham, Coach BB. There was this story in the Wall Street Journal about Lindsey Graham, I believe, and about his coaching, essentially. That's the word someone else used. Lindsey Graham's quest to sell Trump on striking Iran. Few others in the president's ear argued for attack as effectively as the South Carolina senator. I don't know if I'll be able to get the clip. I mean, get the article. You know, we respect the Wall Street Journal and their paywall. Right. So we respect the Wall Street Journal. Hold on. We might not get that article. Is that just like a South Carolina way of speaking or something?
Lord have
he reminds me of this guy.
Have mercy, I'm about to bust. Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Which I don't even know who this guy is. It's just a reaction I see going around the internet. But he sounds just like Lindsey Graham. He has this way of speaking.
To all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have.
So anyways. But yes. The BHIs are technically Jewish. What? Y'all are on some other stuff. Okay, clearly you guys are on something else. Y'all are on another level. BHIs are technically Jewish. Okay, last thing I think I had here saved with this guy. Talking about men's and daughters, the draft and all that.
Our allies step up, get our air bases out of Spain. They're not reliable. Move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes That has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast, our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake, and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States. I say this as a friend.
Man, I get such a phony impression of this guy. Like he's the one who's been trying to help the Arab world. What he's describing is how America has a partnership. You know, we don't have just Israel's not the only ally there, but it's these other Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, whatever. The United Arab Emirates. You see, they've been wanting to join the world in a sense and become a world trading partner, denouncing terrorism, being friendly with the West, because they want to make things happen for the country, and they want to make business happening. And like Trump, he says about America, he's like, all I care about people in America is people who want to make the country work, make it great. That's what some of these Arab guys want, I think. They're like, okay, we just don't want the terrorists. We just want people to make it great, sell the oil, make businesses, and make a good life for the people. So what Lindsey Graham is talking about is how that they will have this outward ally partnership with the West, but when it comes down to conflict, and the West and its partners starts having conflict with the Islamic world, those partners stay a little bit quiet because they're still like Muslim. And so I've heard different explanations that their own people will turn on them if they're too pro-Israel, pro-America, because they're still like Muslim. So any attack on the Islamic world from a foreign power that's trying to control them is seen as an attack on Islam, etc. So Lindsey Graham saying, "Hey, stop it with the being our friends, but being like, hey, chill. We support the Muslims. Don't be like that. No, join Trump. Join us outwardly. Let's go out there and fight." But the kicker is the kicker about this clip is that as he's saying that, he says, because I'm over here in South Carolina asking our daughter, asking the parents to tell, asking the sons and did he say sons and daughters? Hold on.
That has to stop.
Modern feminist, globalist Republicans, Lindsey Graham, no different from Democrats. I just realized he's like, because I'm over here in South Carolina asking them to send their sons and daughters. He literally said that.
What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters. What a joke. What a joke of a country we are. What an absolute joke of a country we are. And then you have this guy, and I was just making it clear why he's saying some of these things, but he makes it sound like he's the guy doing all this. He's just like a mouthpiece. He's just a mouthpiece for these ideas. What's he ever done? I'm working hard to make the Arab world work for you guys. In what way? And he glosses over this little point. He's just like, because I'm over here asking South Carolina to send their daughters and their sons. And I guess, and in that, I like sort of understand what people are saying here a little bit, I know I was saying like soldiers, they know what they sign up for in a sense. So I still maintain that I'm not going to feel bad for it. Like if you believe your government is like captured and sending soldiers off to fight wars for other people, then you should quit the army. Right? So even now, still I won't feel bad. If that's what you believe, then stop being a soldier. So I'm not going to feel bad for it. Like, that's what soldiers do. They go fight. That being said, this is why people are saying that. They're saying that because they got people convinced. And I don't know where Lindsey Graham's motivations lies. Okay? If you have a criticism, you're an isolationist American and he doesn't care about you. He's with Israel all day. And so that's where that comes from. But I think people are a little bit emotional about it. Like, if you believe if your country is like that evil and corrupt doing that, then stop being a soldier for that country. What are you doing? I'm supposed to feel bad? Now, if it's like a draft, that's something else, but that's not in reality. That's not happening. I know we already just like randomly talked about Vietnam and the draft. But, Vietnam wasn't necessarily like a world war. Why did they need to have conscription for that, What's the threshold, where you start needing a conscription? Like, how big does the conflict need to be? Because I wasn't around for Vietnam. And I think Vietnam's smaller than Iran, is it? Anyways, all stuff that we don't know will happen. It could very well be Trump leaves Iran. I don't know. It's looking spicy. It doesn't look good. But anyways, whatever did happen with this Muslim attack thing? Can we get the story straight on this? Because like, what's the deets on this? What's the deets on this Muslim attack thing? Some say true poetic beauty is rare in life. I say look at this video of Islamic terror literally going right over a lefty's head. I was in the middle of saying, as a born and raised New Yorker, we welcome everyone in this city, when he threw this over my head.
We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
Whoa. Whoa. Definitely heard about it. March 7th, 2026, an attempted bombing occurred outside Gracie Mansion, the official residence of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Far-right anti-Muslim protests titled "Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City" was met by counter-protesters. Amid the chaos, two Pennsylvania teenagers, Emir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, allegedly threw two improvised explosive devices towards the anti-Muslim protesters. The devices were homemade bombs, described as jars wrapped in black tape. One was ignited and emitted smoke but failed to fully detonate or explode. No injuries or deaths occurred. The suspects were arrested at the scene. Federal prosecutors charged them with terrorism-related offenses, including attempting to support ISIS. One suspect reportedly told investigators the attack was ISIS-inspired, apparently, and aimed to be even bigger than the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. Mayor Mamdani and New York Police Department Commissioner Jessica Tisch condemned the incident, emphasizing quick police action that prevented a worse outcome. What's Gracie Mansion look like? Oh, that's Gracie Mansion. Gracie Mansion. People were shocked at the house these guys were living in, apparently. I can't confirm this is a house they live in, but people were pretty mad about it. Look at that house. Look at it again. When home ownership is out of reach to too many native-born Americans, don't ever let them tell you it's poverty and desperation that drives people to terrorism. Absolute and complete lie. What? Okay, I definitely disavow violence and being a total insane person. Hold on. This person's a suspect of how they acquired such a home. Suspect that the success of the immigrant, the lack of homeownership success of the native born, implying a conspiracy. Don't ever let him tell you otherwise, he says. Initially, I had no reason to believe that the house wasn't afforded honestly, / not a product of some sort of leering center scam. But now, well, I mean, it must be one hell of a convenience store. Kayumi's parents became naturalized citizens between 2004 and 2009 after leaving war-torn Afghanistan. They appear to own a convenience store. Incredible. But yeah, they attacked. Who ran this anti-Muslim thing? I heard it was someone who was a Jesse Lee Peterson show guest. Jake Lang. The anti-Muslim event outside Gracie Mansion was organized by Jake Lang, far-right activist and influencer. That's what they're calling him. Far-right activist. The protest was titled "Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City." It was quickly outnumbered by counter-protesters.
Into a bunch of at the time.
This is Zora Mamdani.
Of us were home at the time. This was a vile protest rooted in white supremacy entitled "Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City." I'm the first Muslim mayor of our city. Anti-Muslim bigotry is nothing new to me, nor is it anything new for the 1 million or so Muslim New Yorkers who know this city as our home. While I found this protest appalling, I will not waver in my belief that it should be allowed to happen. Ours is a free society where the right to peaceful protest is sacred. It does not belong only to those we agree with. It belongs to everyone. I will defend that right every day that I am mayor, even when those protesting say things that I abhor. Let me also be clear about something else. New York City will never tolerate violence, whether from protests or counter-protests. Many of the counter-protesters met this display of bigotry peacefully, with a vision of a city that is welcoming to all. But a few did not. Two men, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, traveled from Pennsylvania and attempted to bring violence to New York City. They are suspected of coming here to commit an act of terrorism. There is video of these two individuals throwing two devices towards the protest. The police department has determined that these were improvised explosive devices made to injure, maim, or worse. Thanks to the swift and decisive actions of NYPD officers at the scene, both men were immediately taken into custody, and the devices they brought taken off of our streets. I want to commend the officers who were on site.
So many are criticizing Zoran's comment on white supremacy. Let me get this straight. Guy throws a bomb, yells Allahu Akbar. Zoran, mayor of New York, blames white people. I think that's a little bit... I think it's ridiculous, right? White supremacy even being a thing that he would bring up.
New York City.
But here's the problem. And it's also very rich that you literally have these people yelling Allahu Akbar, throwing bombs, nail bombs, trying to kill. And he wants to talk about white supremacy. I get it. Totally rich. But here's the thing. Part of the reason why he gets to say that, and part of the reason why he's bringing it up, is because, and maybe if this Jake Lang didn't do this, maybe he would have said this anyways. But here's where it gets muddy. Here's where you don't get to really say much because you weren't perfect. I don't understand what's the purpose of this, of Jake Lang, this guy acting like this. I guess he wants to say no Muslims. I guess he wants to say it's just wrong. We're America. We're Christian. But, you know, I start losing the plot a bit. I start losing what his motivation is when he starts acting like this, throwing up Romans, talking about... Listen to this.
Go back, APAC.
Throwing up Romans, doing like the Hitler sign. Like, does he and he's saying, we're going to defend white people. Does he know how much they're attacked? Does he realize what he's doing by acting like this? And now Mamdani's like, see, it was a white supremacist thing. Now you lose the plot. Help me understand, Jake Lang. You're far too excited. Obviously, he's far too excited, and I think he's not helping anything.
Go back, APAC. Go back. That's the APAC
I'm
building.
getting no audio out of this. Why am I getting no audio? Hold on.
The more that
Hold on.
Right there.
Oh, we're having that thing again? Sounds like you hear it, but I don't. Let me do what I did last time. That's so strange. Why would such a thing happen? Let's see here.
Go back, APAC. Go back. That's the APAC building.
Okay. Bada bing. This is so weird. Why does this happen? 1, 2, 3. And we're back. Tell me, Jake Lang, like...
Go back, APAC. Go back. That's the APAC building right there. White Christian men are not going to sit around while you turn our children into a bunch of nigger lovers.
What is that? So I'm here doing the anti-Muslim protest. Let me tell the world I'm white and we're done taking those problems. We're white and we're Christian. And APAC is turning everybody into N-word lovers. I lost it, folks. I lost it. Where was the... I lost the point. This sounds like he's just inciting. Like he's just like, hey, F you, come at me. Where did we get? Did we go anywhere, Jake Lang? What was that? Help me understand that. He does a Roman Heil Hitler. I'm going to tell him I'm white. I'm hearing this guy. I heard this guy's Jewish. And he's just like, I'm white. I'm proud. F APAC for turning everyone into N-word lovers. And I'm here for the anti-Muslim thing. And this is what's important in America. And I just got bombed. And I'm a patriot. I'm totally missing it here. I don't understand what he's helping. So that's why Mamdani is saying that. Okay. So that's a total farce, a total ish show. I don't know what that guy was thinking. Total dumpster fire. You know what I'm saying? Total dumpster fire. But anyways. What are y'all saying? How about we go to our super chats and all that? Thank you so much. Appreciate that. C-Bill, who says Nick is king. Thank you, C-Bill. Pauline, appreciate that. Says, ¿Cuándo regresa el talking hot dog, Nico? That's a great question. Stay tuned, Pauline. You're talking about the hot dog, the VR hot dog? He hasn't been mentioned. He hasn't been named, but now that he's been named, he ascends. The hot dog rises. The glizzy rises. All right, calm down. Birdie Bound Brian, thanks for the super chat. Says, if you fall on the... Oh, thank you for that. We read that one. And thanks for your support, sir. Appreciate that. And, of course, thank you, Rumble. Thank you for the support. All right, folks. Last bit of the show. How about we get to... I think we have Kansas or Kansas City on the air. How you doing?
Hold on, let me take myself off speaker here.
Appreciate that.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Is this Brandon?
This is.
Brandon, man, thanks for your call. You're on the air.
Second time calling in. I appreciate you giving me some airtime here. You know, I wanted to call about that Nick Lang guy, and I wanted to give some insight on everything. You know, that Nick guy, he's a plant. And
you mean Jake?
Jake, my fault.
Yes.
Jake Lang, he's a plant. Basically, they've got him out there inciting violence to just keep the divide going. Ultimately, what they do, and when I say they, I'm talking about them boys. If you know who I'm talking about, you do. If you don't, you don't. But they run everything. You know, they run the media. They run, you know, our politicians. They run all the corporations. They run the big corporations, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. 14 out of 15 of the top hedge funds are owned by them boys. Basically what they do is they just make the white and the black man pissed off at each other, because they know that if they ever got together and united, and this includes pretty much anybody, if we just unite as people, because we all know as people we can get along. You know, how many times have you went out to a gathering you were invited to, or, you know, just anything, and there's white, black, Asian, you know, all different types of people, and it's the best time you've ever had, because it's different and it's new, and it's, you know, of course you want to be around your own people and everything. There's nothing wrong with that either. But when you get with, you know, different ethnic groups and different people, there's a power to it, you know, and there's a strength to it that ultimately could be the fabric of America. But they keep on separating us, just like this Jake Lang guy. He's not even I guess what you would call a white boy. You know, he's Jewish. And, you know, I don't have anything wrong with Jewish people per se, but there's people that have taken on that name, and, you know, they've basically taken on that name to fulfill prophecy, because they're just some wild, wicked people. But ultimately they just hit each other against each other for no good reason. And they do that through media, like George Floyd stories, or back in my day, Rodney King, or, you know, whatever. It's always white man against black man, you know, bad. And it's like almost systematically, it happens every so many years, which you can just pick these stories out of the air at any time, every day. I mean, you're talking about a country of 3 million people. Every day there's a white man killing a black person. So you could just literally handpick stories and throw it on the media, amplify it. Next thing you know, everybody's all talking about it. Everybody's pissed off at each other, looking at each other at the grocery store, you know, because they know what's going on social media or whatever. So it's just all by design. And it's all just to break us up. And if you look at it, it's everything. It's man against woman. It's black against white. It's dog against cat, Ford against Chevy. I mean, it's everything at this point. You know, so just being 47 years old, I look back at stuff now, and I'm just like, wow. Like, this is an entire chessboard that they play a game. There's nothing that really happens, like, naturally. I mean, you might have some weather events or, yeah, every once in a while something goes wrong in the world. But most of it's just contrived. And it's ultimately, you know, now what you see is just breaking down of the nuclear family. You know, making women think that they're boss women and making dudes think that they don't need a woman. You know, just go out and work and get your money. Making, you know, little boys think they can be girls, making little girls think they can be boys. All of this is just to break up the family. That's why they empower the woman in divorce court. That's why they do everything. And it's all just to keep us down. And, you know, I don't think there's anything you can do to stop it. I think it's necessarily just to observe it, like Jesse says. Just observe it and don't judge and don't be of this world. You know, don't be of worldly things. You know, I catch myself liking my Porsches and my cars and my Mustangs and my, you know, whatever I'm driving or whatever. And I just got to remind myself, like, none of this is important. It's all just to kind of experience this world. And, of course, there's some horrible stuff in it. But ultimately, you're not going to stop it. We're not going to fix it. Because if you fix it, there's no experience. You know? And we're down here for a reason. I think we're all down here to figure out if we're good people or not. You know, because they say the path is narrow. You know, you're here to kind of figure some things out while you're here, and hopefully you have enough time to do so. That's just a little insight for me. But no, I kind of went off in the left field with Jake Lang or whatever. But he is, man. He's a plant. He's one of them boys, and he's just out there, like saying that in lover stuff. Some black person's going to see that. They're not going to look into it. They're not going to know that he's a plant. They're not going to know his ethnicity. They're not going to know he's not really an Iowa white boy, but they're going to think he is. You know, and they just put this stuff out on the news and stuff just to separate us. Like, we can get along more than you even know, man. We're all brothers and sisters. And you can't fall for this crap because it's all by design. You know, listen to that song Pink Floyd, The Machine. Welcome to the machine. And it says, you know, where have you been? Don't worry, we know where you've been. You know, it's all surveillance now. It's all just a mind F, if you will. And you gotta watch out for it. That's why I go out and I try to work out. I try to be out in the nature. All the stuff that God created will get you away from all that. You know, like just being with your family. That's it, man.
So let me ask. You really think everybody would just get along if it wasn't for the Jews?
Well, I think, you know, we can get along at times. I don't think, you know, like, I think just like in nature, I think white people probably want to be with white people. Mexicans want to be with Mexicans. Blacks want to be with blacks for the most part. But we can intertwine. We can talk. We can get along. You know, like my wife's black. I've been married to her for 19 years. Jesse, I can just hear him now. What? Your wife is black? Yeah, she is. And, you know, there is a difference between white and black girls. I'll say that she's got a, you know, mouth on her and an attitude. But she's also very strong and strong-willed.
My bad.
She's strong-willed and she's very, just very articulate in the way she's an educated, you know, black woman. She's articulate. She's very smart. You know, she's strong, but she's very much a woman of God. You know, she takes her place. You know, she's just a woman. I think each woman can be different. You know what I'm saying? Like, all women are different. They're all the same, but they're all different. It doesn't really matter their skin color necessarily.
So you really believe that we would all get along if it wasn't for the Jews?
Well, I don't think it's because of the Jews. I think it's because of the evil in this world that there's a system in this world that's been prevalent probably for some years now. I mean, I'd say hundreds and hundreds of years, like these powerful families. And these people who pretty much run everything, they have a system. You know, they talk behind closed doors. They run certain games.
And if it wasn't for these Jews running this system, we would get along.
I would say if it wasn't for the Zionists.
If it wasn't for these Zionists running the system, we would get along. You really believe that?
No, there would be a different problem then.
Okay, interesting.
That's
And
what I'm
what would
saying.
that? And what problem would be there?
Who knows? It might be
Huh.
might be Muslims for all you know, Islam. I mean, it could be a lot of
Oh,
stuff. But what I'm saying is,
interesting.
right now, what we're facing. But I'm saying right now.
So why aren't we getting along? So then what is it?
Flavors,
I
right?
thought I was following you. It sounded like, wow, he's got it all figured out. So then why aren't we getting along?
So why are we what?
What? So then why aren't we getting along?
Because this is an experience. We're down here for a reason. This is like I said, you cannot fix it. That's why I'm thinking that people think that they can fix this. Is what I guess was also my point was, you're not fixing this. This is going to happen. This is also by design. You know, this whole experience that we have down here, you're not fixing it. You're not going to make everybody get along. I'm just saying what's going on right now.
So if it wasn't for the Zionists, we still wouldn't get along.
Probably not.
The
man, because
races
we're in a
would still
fallen
be
world.
divided. So then what divided the races? Because, you know, I was following what you're saying. You're saying what the Zionists or the Jews or whatever did to separate the races, to divide them and wedge. I'm following the whole story, but then it falls apart because apparently even without them, it would have happened anyway. So then what's dividing the people?
Well, no, I don't think it would. I think that I don't think that it would happen the way it's happening. I don't think there would be. I think you would still have problems in the world. I think there would still be, you know.
You
everything
really
wouldn't
think
be
the
perfect.
races would just be kumbaya right now if it wasn't for liberal, Jewish, communist propaganda? You really think that?
Well, when we had it to where everybody was in their own little zone or whatever, it was a lot.
They're in their own little
more
zone right now. What are you talking about? Do you know that? Are you familiar
no, they're
that?
they're trying to mix this.
No, even now
If you
with
look at Europe-
diversity. Hold on. Even now with diversity, the races separate themselves. Aren't you familiar with that? Don't you know the races have their own enclaves and all that? Even when they say
like
we're going to
say
be diverse,
prison.
there are no borders, the races are the same. Guess what the races end up doing anyways? Separate and fight. So I'm trying to really understand. You really believe that the races in the world would just be kumbaya if it wasn't for Jewish propaganda? Like you really believe that?
My whole point wasn't the whole, I guess, like why we fight. I was saying what is going on now. The people that are in control, like I said, all the money, all the hedge funds, all the Hollywood, all the, you know, everything like that. The whole system we are in is, in fact, them boys. That is exactly what's going on. With Epstein, he was a Mossad MI6 asset that was compromising all of our senators and politicians. That is exactly what's going on. It says in Revelation 3:9, those that say they are, that are not. I mean, all of this
What's the
stuff,
point of revelation and reading the Bible if you're still controlled by the Jews? If someone else could control you?
well, I
And
think
there's
you
nothing
gotta,
you can do.
Then just observe.
Because that's what you said.
That's what I said, just observe. Because we're not going to be here forever, right? Only, 80 years? We're passing through. Just observe. You're not fixing it. But that's what's
You
going
said
on.
men need women?
That's
What
the
were you?
people-
What'd you mean by that?
You have to, for a man and a woman and to have a family, that's the pinnacle of God's creation. That's the pinnacle of what the nuclear family is.
Okay,
And
so we
that,
only
when
need
you
them for
break
making
that up,
babies.
it's part of the process. It's like negative and positive. You need negative and positive to make electricity. I mean,
To make a baby.
There's a catalyst.
What else does a man need a woman for?
I don't know. I wouldn't say comfort in a woman because I've done that before, and then it ends up biting you in the back.
So true, man.
I kind of feel like women are also kind of like a dual like situation, because in the past I've thought women were the devil. I know that sounds crazy, but I thought that they were, because I don't know. I don't think that as much anymore, but I thought there was like a situation where, you could make the woman your god, and you could like really, if you start like telling a woman everything, and then the next thing you know, you get in an argument and she spits all that back at you, you're like, oh man, that's evil. That's like hardcore right there, because I told you all that, and like, I was breaking down telling you this stuff, and now you're like trying to cut my head off with it. That's
Because she had a
evil
different
that
motivation. It was never love. She had a different motivation to control, etc.
Right, so I
yeah,
think
but you're so right. Like she's not the devil; it's the devil operating through people. But yeah, so
Through
good thing
her,
you
right.
dropped that, because there's people out here really mad
Yeah,
at
right.
women, and they hate them. It's like, but it's so good thing you saw that.
Yeah, I don't.
it's evil
I don't think that. And
operating
I've got
through
three
them.
daughters now too, so I've got 3 daughters now too. So I mean, obviously, I had to fix that a little bit, but ultimately, man, we're all just trying to figure it out while we're here. And what I'm seeing is, after 47 years of life, there's definitely a complete control system, and it seems to be all the same people. All you have to do is go look up their names, and they're I mean, it's like 1% of the people control all of America, and it's crazy. Like the deeper you go into it, like the Hollywood actors, like most of them guys, they change their
Is
last
owning
names and
Hollywood
stuff.
controlling America?
That's just, so you got to look at it like an octopus that has like 8 tentacles. You got the head, and then you got like media is one. You got like, the politicians is another one. You got corporations is another one. It's all a system. You got to understand the whole, you got to look at it from a 35,000 foot view. And you got to
But
realize
man, see, this is what you're, and I appreciate. I'm sorry because we're kind of repeating a couple of things here. So just because of time, I'm just gonna move this along just a little faster. But the reason I'm even asking you, like, why do you really think the races would come together without what you're saying, is because I just don't buy it. Like, and
really
because some of the
though.
stuff, you're saying may be somewhat true. Because we remember this was kicked off with the Jake Lang thing, and the whole you're hold on, right. You're saying he's a plant, and you're like you're really standing on that he's like maybe like some sort of like paid actor to some degree. And here's where you'll like lose people, because you don't have to make such a claim without knowing. People can operate like that just because of how they are, their culture, raised that way. Like we both know he's Jewish, so they could just be like a cultural thing where he would act that way. Essentially, you don't have to go into that, because that's what you lose people making claims that you don't know. But hey, I'm not here to tell you how to win people over, right? That's not the point. I'm just bringing that up because it shows, in my opinion, it shows your corrupt thinking. Because even if some of the things you're saying is true, to take it to that level where you're and it sounds like maybe through our conversation, maybe you're kind of even scrutinizing your own comments. But anybody who was following that conversation, you're basically just saying, well, the races would be fine if it wasn't for Jewish propaganda. And anyone listening would know that that's an absolutely ridiculous comment. So, it just shows like a little bit of corrupt thinking, So it's hard to find any credibility in what you're saying.
Yeah, the nice part about this conversation is it's recorded, so I'll have to go back and listen. But I don't
Totally.
ever remember really caring about the races getting together.
Yeah, you were saying if it wasn't we would be friends. I forget exactly how you're saying. You're like, I'm married to a black woman. We would be together if it wasn't for all this propaganda, essentially. And that's just so ridiculous.
Yes, it makes it worse. I didn't say we'd like be kumbaya.
That's fair.
necessarily,
Now that I
because-
understand.
But
That I totally understand.
But I guess if you've never got along with some other races, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But I've had plenty of instances where I've got along with, I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go, like, say, down to the hood and, party at 11 o'clock with, being the only white boy down there and 50 other black people, but I'm not also going to.
Pleasantries is not love.
Myself.
Everybody knows this.
What?
Pleasantries is not love. Everybody knows this. But I'm glad that you found pleasant moments with other races. Me too. I have many friends of different races. Sir, can you anything else you want to speak on before we move the wheels?
No. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Call me again.
All right.
Amazing. All right, folks. Jermaine, Canada, thanks for holding. How you doing, sir? You're on the air. I just looked at the time and I realized we're like right on it, so I had to keep it moving. How you doing, Jermaine? Go ahead.
What? All is well, sir. Nick, what's up with the white supremacists, man? What's up with these people, man?
What do you mean? The ones in the street throwing Romans up or what?
You know the funniest thing, you play that black African guy on your stream a couple of times. I forgot his name, Frederick something.
Oh, I'm not remembering.
This guy, I seen a clip of him talking about white supremacy. And it's so interesting because you said, the white people, they would go to Africa and they'll brought like new invention and new things they have never seen before. And that's how the term white supremacy came around, because they saw that the white man was superior to them. So that's how that word came about. Isn't that interesting?
But wait, who said this? I'm sorry, I don't remember this Frederick guy. He said this. What you're saying? And I played his clips.
Yeah, you said this. No, I don't think you played that clip necessarily, but you played clips of this black African guy before.
Is he the guy who like?
His name
is he the guy who
something?
Is he the one that was like criticizing kind of some of the African mindset that refuses to maintain the things they were given and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah, he's super interesting. Super interesting.
He's very interesting.
And he's like talking about how like in Igbo, in the languages of Igbo and Nigerian, I think that they don't even have the word. The word for maintenance doesn't even exist. It's not in their conception.
Yeah. So you talked about how the word white supremacy came around. And I'm like, that's so funny. Because Jesse's right on the money with this one too. It's because all the other cultures sees the white as superior.
Oh, yeah.
They're white supremacy. It's ridiculous.
That is so deep. They reveal their own thinking.
Yeah. So that was interesting to see. So my guy Jake Long now, I saw the clip of him, carrying around a pig or something. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. This is wild. But in my mind, I guess, it's giving Mandani ammo. You think you're doing good, but really you're not doing anything at all. If anything, you're giving in ammo to use against America itself to warp the mind of the young people, pretty much, even the older people too, that doesn't know what's going on. So I don't see any good coming from this at all, not one bit. Because now
I so agree.
Jake Long white supremacy, and the blacks, they're gonna run with this too.
Yeah.
And one thing,
and that's kind of what the last caller was talking about, to be fair, and that's something that I think we can understand.
Oh, okay.
But you were saying.
I didn't catch all of his little thing here, but one thing I noticed, especially the blacks, they tend. I don't know what's wrong with blacks, man. They tend to just go to the wrong things, because they're like, oh, the Muslim, like in New York, I've seen them. The Christian talks about Mandani is a good leader and all of this stuff. I'm like, how? I don't see it though. But maybe I don't see it, but they see it. But in my head, like, there's nothing good coming from what he's doing, because the blacks are running to his cause, but what? Because he's going to use white supremacy and tell you the rich needs to pay more tax and they need to take care of New York. Like, that's dumb. They're just running through him for free stuff. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be the demise of the blacks themselves and the New Yorkers, the white people. But pretty much what I have to say. I don't want to take too much time. If you have to grab another call real quick, but yeah.
Jermaine, thanks for holding the patience and getting your call in here before we go. Call me again.
Always a good chat, Nick. Have a good one, man.
Take care, sir.
All right.
Folks, we really made it up to the end of the show there. We did the super chats, the calls, and all that. Rick, man, I couldn't get to you. Steve, couldn't get to you. Call me tomorrow. My apologies. We got Black Excellence Wednesday with JLP tomorrow. That's right before Manhood Hour. The Hake Report, and then, of course, more American Anchor Baby. One little super chat before we go from C-Sal. I appreciate it, C-Sal. She says, God bless Israel. Cry more, losers. You tell them, C-Sal. All right, folks. Thanks for being with me today. Hope you enjoyed it. I shall see you all tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. Peace. Take care.